day, everyone, and welcome to another Mr. Kilroy presentation on behalf of Freedom Pages. Today, I am going to talk about a fellow resident of Niagara, Mr. Ian Thompson. Mr. Ian Thompson has been embroiled fighting his own government because he simply believed in his right to defend his property. A little background on this. Mr. Thompson was a former mobile crane operator. He bought himself a little fixer-upper farmhouse in Port Colborne, moved there and fixed it up. His neighbor, a farmer, let his chickens wander all over the place, and they used to wander on Mr. Thompson's property. Well, everyone has a right to decide what goes on to their property or not. That's not in dispute. So Mr. Thompson told his neighbor that please take care of your chickens. If they come onto my property, I will do something about it. Well, he did do something about it. He killed one. This started a 6-year nasty relationship with his neighbor. I'm not here to judge the rightness or the wrongness of that particular action. However, his neighbor, this whole struggle finally culminated when his neighbor, with 3 other attackers, after 6 in the morning, began lobbing Molotov cocktails at his home. Mr. Thompson was awoken to the sound of these bombs exploding. Mr. Thompson grabbed one of his 5 pistols, quickly loaded it. He fired 1 shot into his lawn and 2 into a stand of trees. Caused the attackers to break off their attack and flee. All of this was caught on surveillance, and yes, the attackers were later apprehended. Now, for all of Mr. Thompson's trouble, he was later charged by the local Crown Attorney with a careless storage of a 2 counts of careless storage with a firearm, and pointing a firearm, which, believe it or not, in Canada is a criminal offense. The Crown sooner or later vacated that pointing of a firearm, or there was also a careless storage or a careless discharge of a firearm. That was vacated by the Crown Attorney. Thinking his troubles were behind him, no, those other 2 charges came along too. It's over now. The judge rightfully acquitted Mr. Thompson, which surprises the hell out of me. Again, this being Canada, and our judiciary is not exactly the most understanding when it comes to firearms owners, and that's being kind, folks. Now, the National Post has summarized the judge's words, and it goes like this. The Crown had pursued 2 avenues of prosecution. First, it contended that Mr. Thompson kept at least one of his guns in his bedside table, not in a legally mandated secure locker container. As evidence, they pointed to the fact that when police arrived, they found the guns in his bedroom, as well as a box of ammunition in his bedside table. Nonsense. The guns were out because he'd just been fighting for his life. And a box of ammunition in his bedside table is proof only that Mr. Thompson kept a box of ammunition in his bedside table. If we accepted the Crown's logic, I would apparently be in the habit of parking my car in my bedroom because I drop my keys onto a shelf there every evening. The judge found that the video surveillance captured by Mr. Thompson's security cameras offered convincing evidence that Mr. Thompson did not have easy and immediate access to his firearms. There was a gap of a minute between the attack beginning and Mr. Thompson opening fire. Time during which Mr. Thompson claimed he was opening his gun safe to arm himself. The judge accepted this. I'm actually amazed that the judge did. they seem to have a deferential treatment of Crown evidence. But the Crown had also tried a novel argument. They contended that Mr. Thompson was guilty of unsafe storage because his ammunition was not stored in a securely locked container. Canadian law notes that every person commits an offense who, without lawful excuse, uses, carries, handles, ships, transports, or stores a firearm, a prohibited weapon, restricted weapon, a prohibited device, or any ammunition or prohibited ammunition in a careless manner, or without reasonable precautions for safety of other persons. Emphasis, the judges. But there are no further references to what would constitute careless storage of ammunition. One reason Canadian gun owners have long complained that the Firearms Act is a poorly written mess. No frickin' kidding. The law specifies that firearms must not be readily accessible to ammunition, but also notes that firearms and ammunition can be stored in the same locked container. Okay then. And no definition of readily accessible is provided either. The judge ultimately ruled that the exact details of where or how the ammunition was stored did not matter. It only mattered that a loaded firearm not be readily accessible at any time. And since Mr. Thompson's guns were stored in a locked container, that was the case. The judge rejected the Crown's suggestion that Mr. Thompson's bedroom was too close to his guns, noting the law says nothing about proximity to firearms and ammunition. Having rejected both the Crown's arguments, the judge acquitted Mr. Thompson. The court, now this is, again, I'm going to paraphrase Matt Gurney, the writer of this article. There's all kinds of good news, not the least of which, Mr. Thompson did nothing wrong. And as I have often contended, why was he even charged in the first place? The truth of the matter is that it has cost Mr. Thompson a large sum of money to defend himself, where he should not have had to defend himself at all in a court of law. The evidence should have been self-evident that Mr. Thompson did nothing wrong. This is an example of where a Crown attorney wanting to make a name for himself goes a little too far. And it is indeed reassuring to a lesser extent that there is a judiciary that is willing to listen to evidence and not merely see firearms owner and say, doesn't matter, guilty. Now this is the best thing that Matt Gurney has said, and this I'll quote. And best of all, a message has been sent to overreaching Crown attorneys. Canadians have the right to use firearms to defend themselves and their homes. Mr. Thompson's victory will hopefully spare the next Canadian who defends themselves with a lawfully owned firearm the expense and ordeal of a long legal battle against their own government. And that is the bottom line. Against your own government. Why? Which of, I will leave that with everybody to ponder. Why? And it's just not when there's a firearm involved. There have been other people that have gone before and have defended themselves, and the evidence said that they have defended themselves, yet they have to go to court and defend themselves. No doubt this little case has cost Mr. Thompson in upwards of, well, I'll give it a range, between $30,000 and $100,000 to defend himself. Why? Because we have a Crown attorney with an opinion. No one should use guns. Not based on law, not based in fact, but based in his own opinion. Now, I'll leave you to ponder that a while. And this is Mr. Kilroy, urging everybody to please subscribe, thumbs up the video, make comments, and above all, have a wonderful day.